So, here's the story. I'm gonna tell you a story. You may notice the collab chair in the bottom right corner. It's there. But who are we collabing with? Well, no actual person, really. It's just a certain type of thing. This right here. You see this? What does it look like to you? A regular top hat, right? Just a normal everyday top hat. Well, this is no normal top hat. This is the teleporting hat. That's right, the teleporting hat. On the inside of the hat is a portal reaching to another teleporting hat somewhere. It transfers, it shifts. Any teleporting hat can reach any teleporting hat. Someone could be wearing the hat, and you could bonk foreheads with somebody. And once you take it off to apologize to them, it's already changed to someone other teleporting hat. And it just gets confusing. Now this teleporting hat was invented in the year 1957 by Edward Butterfingers. At a factory off in Kentucky. And this is the story of how I was also involved in it. So, our story starts out on a sunny day off on the Himalayan islands where I was stranded for no clear reason. I was just stranded. I don't remember how I got there, but I was there. And there, the Himalayan islands aren't very plentiful in what they have. It's just some green beans and sardines. I ate all of it. I had to. But then one day, a ship arrived. And the person at the ship said, "Hey! What are you doing down there?" And I said, "I got stuck. I got stuck." And I said, "You wanna hop on?" I said, "Sure." And so, I clambered onto the boat. Kind of poorly, actually, but I did it. I got onto the boat. And we took off. And he said, "Hey, Andrew Navarro, thank you for the follow. Thank you. I hope you're enjoying the story." Anyway, I was on this boat, sailing off into the distance with a random stranger, and I asked him what his name was. He said it was Tony. Tony. His first and last name, Tony. And I said, "What you doing out here, Tony? And he said, "I'm just sailing around looking for treasure. Looking for the greatest treasure that the sea has to offer." I said, "Can I help you with searching this treasure?" He said, "Sure. I asked, "Where are we looking?" And he turns to me and he just kind of points off in the distance over there. And then points back at a map. He said, "I think it's off in that direction. At least this map says so." So this isn't the full map. There are pieces of the map that lead to other pieces. And therefore, we can find the true heart of the sea. And I said, "That sounds awesome. Let's go out there and do it." So we set off and sailed. We ate more sardines. Because, sardines actually can be pretty good sometimes. And we sailed off into the distance, where we eventually came by a giant hole. Just a hole right in the middle of the water. Not like a whirlpool or anything, just a hole. There was nothing there. And I said, "That's weird. You'd think this fill up by now." And he kind of turned to me and looked a little confused. I said, "I think it's down there somewhere. The next piece of the map." And I said, "Okay, let's go down." We pulled out some rope he had underneath the boat because he has rope and tied to the boat, and we slowly slid down into the hole. Deeper and deeper we went. It got darker. Fish were flying through the air. Like there was water there, but there wasn't. We went down and down until we eventually came to the bottom and saw a glowing archway in which a large figure stepped in front and said, "Who goes there?" And I said, "War Veteran Pig, this is Tony. I'm Tony. Nice to meet you, Tony. I'm War Veteran Pig. Now, is the map back there?" I asked, and he said, "Maybe. Maybe not. First, you have to answer my riddle." I said, "Okay. What's the riddle?" And the figure approached me a little bit, still scared in darkness, and said, "If John has 4 apples and Lisa has 2, how many apples do they have all together?" And we looked at each other, me and Tony, unsure of how to solve the riddle. And I knew the answer to it. It came to me in a vision. Kinda. I just kind of have an idea. I looked at the figure and I said 7. Because Tony, actually, not Tony, Johnny, has a secret apple hidden in his pocket that he doesn't want the other lady to know about. Because Johnny isn't a gentleman and does not share his apples. And the figure took a step back, a bit frightened, shocked that I'd actually managed to solve the riddle. And I said, "Good job. You can have the map." And then the hundreds of hedgehogs occupying the trench coat all fell out and ran in different directions. And we approached the archway, and on a pedestal was the piece of the next map carved into a seashell. We took the rope back up out of the hole, all the way up, back to the boat. Brought a few hedgehogs along with us for the ride. And Tony turned to me and he said, "Next, we have we have 2 more map pieces after this one. I think there might be 1. I don't know." And I said, "Well, only one way to find out." And so I hit the gas pedal and dove straight into the hole because we were facing forward, and that's the direction it was. And so we went back into the hole. Luckily, though, we dove into the hole and into the water on the other side, flooding the boat, but also lifting us back up. So now we were damp, had lost the hedgehog, but we're on our way. We kept moving through the ocean until we eventually came closer to the spot. He said, "Should just be up here." But then a horrible storm rolled in. Something that we've never seen before. And a giant being of that could not be described by any words except for the word worm arose out of the water. It approached us, and atop the giant lizard worm thing was a small goblin-like creature who held a piece of paper in his hand very tightly. It was getting quite wet. We were out in the rain, but he held it tightly anyway. And He looked at me and he said, "Una bodara!" And me and Tony exchanged glances. And I looked at him and I just said, "Tony, don't you worry. I speak little weirdo." And I turned back to the goblin and did the thing back to him. "Una una!" And he does look confused. I don't speak goblin, I speak little weirdo. The best trick with little weirdos is just to say the same thing back to them. But I looked at him and like we just repeated that back and forth. Oda oda, oda oda. And eventually I grew a little tired of it. I didn't want to keep on doing this. And I just went, "Hey! Give me that piece of paper." And he just said, "Da! Give it to me! Da!" And then, afterward, then I got so tired of it. So tired of this little guy just yelling "da" over and over again. I just punched him in the face and grabbed the paper for myself and stepped on the gas and drove straight into the serpent. And that didn't go very well. It broke the front of our boat and lost the other hedgehog. But then we eventually managed to get out of there whilst being chased. And Tony said, "This could be it." I was wrong. There aren't two more pieces. There's just the one piece. There's one piece left. This is the one piece. We have the treasure. The treasure is in front of us. Somewhere. And I said, "Great. Let's go there." And so we set out a little bit more. We kept on going. Met some mermaids. Very, very nice mermaids. I liked them a lot. I was like a good lady mermaid. I was very friendly. And then, eventually, we came to a temple. No, not a temple. It was a tower. A very large, ancient tower that we could see from the Himalayan islands at the very beginning. But we never paid attention to it because we said, yeah, that's just a random tower. Nothing special about it. And so we approached the tower. We got up there. And Tony told me, "Warren Pig, I think you'll have to climb. You'll have to climb up the tower." And I said, "I can do it." And so I dug my hooves into the side of the wall. And I fell down immediately. And I looked at Tony. I just asked him, "Is there a door somewhere nearby? I think we could just use the door and go into the tower." And he said, "Yeah, there's one right over there." "Okay, thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you." So I went into the tower, up the series of steps, farther up and up and up, until I reached the top, the very tippity top of this tower. And there I saw it, the greatest treasure of the sea, the cereal of the pearl. It's the best cereal in the land. It kept inside a plastic pearl. They discontinued it 50 years ago. And that now it was here, right in front of me. And I ran back down the tower with the pearl in hand. And I said, "Tony, look, we got the pearl, the cereal pearl." And Tony let an audible gasp. "It's beautiful. I'm gonna betray you now." "What? You're gonna betray me?" "Yes, I'm gonna betray you." "Why you do that?" "Because a pearl, the cereal pearl, is the most valuable artifact in the entire land. If I have it, I become rich." And I say, "How dare you, Tony? How dare you? I trusted you." And so, I realized, I remembered something. That we had a third hedgehog on the boat. I thought we picked up two. Tony picked up an extra. Tony kept a secret hedgehog in his pocket, just like Johnny did with the apples. And so I reached into his pocket, I threw the hedgehog at him, and I stepped on the gas and went in the opposite direction of the tower because we were in reverse. And he flew off the boat, and I eventually grabbed onto some plywood that was floating around in the water. And he just kind of floated there. And I took off, going backwards, and wondering, wow, what a wonderful adventure I just had. Finding hedgehogs in a trench coat, beating up a little weirdo, entering a tower and being betrayed by a guy named Tony. What a great adventure. And now I got the cereal pearl. And then, because I was going in reverse for so long, and just was monologuing for an equally long period of time, I ran back into the Himalayan islands with a crash, and the pearl went flying and into the ocean. And here I was, back on the Himalayan islands. But this time I got a boat. And then, the teleporting hat was made in a completely unrelated factory at the exact same time.